Hi and welcome to Our Small Table. Today we're making Cajun chicken pasta. Here's our finished dish. Let's see how we got here. The oven is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We've already cooked the farfalle pasta and then rinsed it with cool water so it would be cool, and then re-drained it. So now we're going to add a portion of the cheese sauce that we made in a previous video. As well as a portion of the shredded chicken, which thawed overnight in the fridge. Possibly I should have used a larger bowl for this, but as long as I'm careful, it'll be okay. And our vegetables. And the milk. This is where I'll really have to be careful in stirring so that I don't splash. Minced garlic, the fresh tomato. A general rule of thumb when you're cooking for a small household is you want to try and get the smallest produce that you can. And then our seasonings. Funny little thing about the Cajun seasoning that I have. I've never actually purchased Cajun seasoning. I was staying at a hotel that had a mini kitchen in it, and they provided a few basic seasonings for cooking in your room, and one of them was a little packet of Cajun seasoning. And when I was packing up the kitchen supplies that I had brought with me, I accidentally put that little packet in with it. They don't mind, it's acceptable to take it, but it meant that I didn't have to buy any for this recipe because I've never used it otherwise. If you like spice, which Cajun foods properly should be quite spicy, you can also add hot pepper sauce here. As I've said before, I'm very sensitive to spice, and so I'm not going to do so. I'm just going to transfer this into our baking dish. I'm using a 1.5 liter baking dish. Anything about a quart or larger should do, but you don't want to go too large. And remember that as you change the size of your baking dish, you'll have to change how long it cooks. Now, if you want to get the casserole to this point and then stop, you can cover it with foil. You can stick it in the freezer if you're just going to cook it in the next 48 hours or so, or pardon me, in the fridge if you're going to cook it the next 48 hours or so, or you can stick it into the freezer. If you freeze it, then you'll need to thaw it in the fridge overnight before you cook it. I'm going to clear up some things for the next bit, and then I'll be right back. This is my mini food processor. I've had this thing for like 17 years or so, and I found it very useful, but I know that not everyone has one. If you don't have a mini food processor, you can use a blender for this step. I'm just going to use some panko breadcrumbs, some cooked cooled and crumbled bacon, paprika, and a small clove of garlic. The best way to get the small ones is in the center of a large clove of garlic. There will usually be some little ones. I'm just going to pulse on and off. We're going for fine crumbs, but I'm going to do it off camera because as you can tell, it's very, very loud. I think this looks pretty good for a nice crumb topping. Take the blade out and I'm going to add my cheese. You don't have to do it this way. You can add the cheese and the crumb topping separately. Just find this a little bit easier way of getting them combined, even though I have made a mess. I can clean that up. And just going to sprinkle this over the top. And I have to say that bacon really smells good. You don't want to lose any of it. And then I'll spread this out a little bit so that when it comes time to eat, every bite has some of that delicious bacon crumb topping. And then this is going to go into the oven and get baked. We'll see how it looks when it comes out. Sorry, I turned off the camera and forgot to mention that for the first portion of baking, you want it to be covered, and then we'll uncover the last little bit. So that's the very last step before we stick it in the oven. And here we have it. I let it cool for a little bit when it came out of the oven, so it's ready for us to dig right in. Thanks for joining me at Our Small Table. The recipe we've used today is linked in the video description and is available at OurSmallTable.com. Next time we're using another portion of our shredded chicken to make barbecue chicken stromboli. Click subscribe so you don't miss it, and don't forget to enable notifications.